Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight in support of Project Healthy Minds, our partners at Archwell Foundation, and the true leaders in mental health access.
Just as I see in you, the present and the future. And I reiterate that point because oftentimes we speak to young adults about the years ahead, about what you'll do, what you'll have to adopt to fix from previous generations.
The once beloved Duchess of Sussex has spent years crafting the perfect image, the perfect look, the perfect wife, the perfect mother. The question is, how long before the cracks start to show? Meghan Markle has spent years fooling the world by showing herself as kind, selfless, and proper enough for the royal family. But behind closed doors, with claims of bullying and plastic surgery rumors flying around, the disgraced Duchess could only fool the world for so long.
This is Jeffrey Epstein, multimillionaire, hedge fund manager, businessman with famous, powerful friends, and also convicted sex offender. Just weeks ago, court documents pertaining to his sex trafficking case were unsealed by a New York court.
And now, Meghan seems to have taken center stage in the saga that is the Epstein case. The Epstein case is one that you'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard about. It had all the ingredients: power, money, sex, and glamour. At the center of it all was a man with the means to bend the rules to his liking. He hung out with the top 1% and was frequently seen with many celebrities, political figures, and even royals.
That's an island over a mile away from St. Thomas, the main island. And it's out there and it's isolated. He purchases that, right? Then he owns the jet.
Jeffrey Epstein was a billionaire socialite whose luxurious lifestyle made many green with envy and pulled in people from different walks of life. But behind the glitz and glamour, there was a dark secret known to some behind the scenes. What looked enviable was actually a cover-up for one of the most insane sex trafficking scandals of our time.
How do you get off? It's not like a person who's on the island can just say, okay, I'm going to swim to St. Thomas.
On a private island, which many dubbed Pedophile Island, Jeffrey Epstein and his partner Ghislaine Maxwell ran an illegal sex trafficking operation where they lured underage girls and sexually assaulted them. The world was shocked because this was a man who presented himself to the world as a powerful businessman, who managed money for the wealthy and knew everyone.
Have you ever solicited a minor for prostitution?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Somehow his lawyers had worked out a deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
It was more evidence of the fact he was powerful and he could fix what everything came up.
This case was one of the worst failures of the criminal justice system.
The devil wears two faces. For Epstein, the mask came off when, after years of whispers and allegations against this predator, he was finally arrested in 2008. Only to be let off icily with a 13-month term in prison after pleading guilty to a few minor charges. Despite this, Epstein didn't quietly fade into the background, as he still had connections to the rich and powerful Prince Andrew included.
Businessman and convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. We know Prince Andrew got to know Jeffrey Epstein in 1999. We know that he saw him fairly regularly.
The pair had been spotted together on many occasions at parties, lavish events, and their friendship definitely raised eyebrows. It didn't help that the two were caught on camera taking a casual stroll through Central Park in early December 2010.
We know that Prince Andrew had a relationship of some sort with Virginia Roberts. She is the woman that Prince Andrew's got his arm around in this photo.
This was after the world had known the man to be a convicted sex offender. And what happened next shocked everyone: the palace, the media, and the entire population at large. A photo appeared of the Queen's favorite son with his arms around a young girl named Virginia Giuffre, who was 17 at the time. She claimed that she was trafficked by Epstein to have sex with the prince.
She was very specific about that night. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating.
However, Prince Andrew strongly denied this, with what would go down now as the most insane reason. He said he couldn't sweat at the time, which was in response to the girl's claim that he was sweating profusely while dancing with her. He claimed to have zero memory of ever meeting her, Then 2019 came around, and Epstein was tried again for sex trafficking, but this time on federal charges. But a month later, the once-admired billionaire socialite was found dead in his jail cell. To some, this was a simple case of suicide. The man who was once at the top of the world saw his empire crumbling, his perfectly crafted image going down the drain. But this wasn't without its conspiracy theories for others.
Go to the United States, but I didn't have much time with him. I suppose I saw him once or twice a year, perhaps maybe maximum of 3 times a year.
With his death, the spotlight remained on Prince Andrew, who, in an attempt to save face and defend himself, did a BBC interview which had the opposite effect. Many observers tagged the prince as being arrogant and out of touch, with news outlets like The Guardian calling it a catastrophic error. After this terrible interview that made history for all the wrong reasons, the prince's reputation tanked overnight, and he quietly stepped back from his royal duties. Despite openly claiming the whole allegation was false and he had nothing to do with the girl, in 2022, Prince Andrew quietly settled Giuffre's lawsuit for millions of pounds without any admission of guilt, but acknowledged that she had been a victim of unfair public attacks.
Can't call him Prince Andrew anymore. His big brother, the King, stripped him of his titles today, which also included Earl of Inverness and Knight of the Order of the Garter.
Then, in 2025, Prince Andrew was officially stripped of his royal titles: Prince, Duke of York, Earl of Inverness, Baron Killalegend. He will no longer have the right to be called His Royal Highness. This was done by the reigning monarch, King Charles, and he was also made to leave his Windsor mansion.
You're taught that predators are old men in alleys. You're not told that a friend, a socialite.
They say it takes 2 to tango. And for this disturbing case, Epstein wasn't the only name in the headlines. Enter Ghislaine Maxwell, the British socialite turned sex offender. Once a crucial part of Epstein's scheme, she now sits behind bars serving a 20-year sentence. Even behind bars, the disgraced socialite hasn't stopped talking about this case. What went down, and the people who were involved?
Anyone and everyone, including his family. However, Ghislaine was reportedly his favorite child.
I think she was a little spoiled. I think I could see that.
After Maxwell purchased the Oxford United Football Club, he gave his daughter the job of director.
She, the daughter of the publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell, was a socialite who graced the scenes of London and New York alike. The daughter of the tycoon was respected by some and feared by many. Her father doted on his daughter and paved the way for her in high society. She was seen with prominent figures like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, and many others. Despite a rough start to her childhood, with her brother getting into a disastrous accident that led to a coma a few days after her birth, and him dying on her 10th birthday, the daddy's girl grew into a prominent and influential figure within British society.
But by going to police, Maria felt the full force of Maxwell's fury. Terrified, Maria went into hiding and gave up her art career. What sort of threats has she made against you?
Originally, it started with things like, I'm going to burn your art.
How did one of the most important elites in British society turn around to become one of the most hated women ever? It started with the death of her father on his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. It was an apparent suicide off the coast of the Canary Islands. Shortly after came the relationship between Epstein and Maxwell. Then, shortly after this, she was recruiting and grooming teenagers for his sexual abuse.
Verdict has been reached in the trial of Jeffrey Epstein's former confidant, Ghislaine Maxwell. Longtime Epstein associate is guilty of all but one charge she faced.
Too many. She wasn't just a passerby or clueless to what Epstein did. She played a huge part in the recruitment and grooming of underage girls for Jeffrey Epstein, with some being as young as 14, according to testimonies and court filings. The youngest daughter of the billionaire tycoon would befriend the girls and entice them into giving in to Epstein's sexual acts. Allegedly, she would go as far as coaching some of these girls to his sexual preferences. Was this blind loyalty, or was she also a victim of Epstein in other ways?
When Ghislaine Maxwell, the one-time madam of billionaire pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, was last year convicted of sex crimes against underage girls, her victims hoped a jail cell would silence her. Turns out they were wrong. As well as appealing her 20-year sentence, Maxwell has now begun a concerted campaign
In 2022, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years for sex trafficking minors with Jeffrey Epstein. Prosecutors stated that she assisted and facilitated the crime, which led to her convictions on multiple counts: sex trafficking conspiracy, sex trafficking of a minor, and conspiracy to entice and transport minors for illegal sex acts. From having the world as a runway to prance around without a care in the world, to being watched by guards instead of cameras, with nothing but time and maybe regret. In August 2025, she was transferred from a federal women's prison in Florida to a lower security prison camp in Texas, and she hasn't stopped talking since being locked up. Now, why is the woman who was at the center of a scandal that shocked the world under the illusion of glitz and glamour, with a royal involved dragging another royal into the mix?
Meghan Markle is getting raised for her raspberry jam, but some are criticizing its runny texture. Turns out it's not actually jam. Under FDA regulations, it's technically a spread.
The failed jam entrepreneur is at the center of another scandal, with Ghislaine Maxwell name-dropping Meghan Markle and alluding to a life before the spotlight was on her, a life she hid from the cameras, which would no doubt ruin the perfect image she has spent years crafting. Meghan, who's built her public identity as someone who has gone from a struggling actress to the people's princess, is always seen as championing charities and humanitarian causes. She knows how to make every appearance count while continuing to position herself as a modern-day advocate. Even the shackles of a prison cell couldn't stop the disgraced Maxwell from name-dropping Meghan. She claims to have knowledge of Meghan's pre-royal life.
Who was only 14 years old when she was assaulted by Epstein, said of his strategy, Jeffrey preyed on girls who were in a bad way, girls who were basically homeless. He went after girls who he thought no one would listen to, and he was right. The girls, who were mostly between the ages of 13 and 16.
She allegedly had a front row seat to the terrible acts committed by the convicted sex offender alongside his sidekick. Yet she kept quiet about this for the longest time and has deceived the world and even her husband. In addition to this, she is also said to have been close companions with Prince Andrew during the time of his alleged involvement with Jeffrey Epstein and supposedly knew Virginia Ju.
I was doing Confessions of a Female Founder as I was building this. I'd always loved the podcast, How I Built This. And I thought, could we do something that feels a little bit like the tenor of how I'm building this?
This sheds a whole new light on the Duchess of Sussex, who has built her brand on freedom, originality, and motivational quotes. Many can't help but see this as a glaring contrast to what Maxwell is claiming. It all started with allegations made by Ghislaine Maxwell about a Documenta CV that alleges that Meghan knows more than she's letting the world know.
It started so well. A dashing prince with the love of his life.
This controversy is an added item to the list of things that has pierced the armor of the perfectly curated image of who we know now as Meghan Markle. Some of her supporters see this as another smear campaign to ruin her image and take her down, while others believe that this adds up and makes sense.
Blame game, much of it directed at Meghan, is fierce. It hasn't yet progressed to off with her head, but it's still a major headache.
But what's even more interesting is the loud silence of Meghan. One thing the Duchess is known for is not holding back. She is very vocal and doesn't shy away from clapping back at any rumors or smear campaign tailored to ruin her. This is evident from her interviews, documentary, and others that she devised as a weapon to control the narrative and try to get on the other side of a rumor before it wounds her reputation badly. But ever since the accusations from Maxwell, there has been no carefully worded press release or interview or cryptic social media post, absolutely nothing. So what does this mean? They say there's no smoke without fire. What if these allegations from Maxwell have some truth in them? And if there is, why did the Duchess believe that the world would never find it? Did she think her image as a lover of world peace and a do-gooder would protect her?